Welcome to Breaking Barriers. You know your path. We know the obstacles, and we can teach you how to tear them down. And now your host, CEO and founder of Adapting Social, John Vigero.
Okay, welcome back to Breaking Barriers. Today's episode is really exciting and it's going to be something sweet. So, if I may, I'm going to have you two introduce yourselves.
Hi, everyone. I'm Nikki Ashkar.
I'm Mike Ashkar.
And we are the owners of Mav's Top Buns, which is an artisanal cinnamon bun bakery / pop-up shop. And we consider ourselves to have a cult following in New Jersey, which is kind of wild, but.
And now, so did you always have set out in your mind that you were going to make cinnamon buns, or is it something that just happened?
Well, so for our first Christmas with our son, we wanted to make something special for his breakfast, and we were going through recipes and trying to figure out, and we were like, cinnamon buns would be great. So we found my grandmother's old recipe and just made it, and everyone was like, wow, these are the best cinnamon buns we've ever had. And this was like the first time we ever even made them. So as it grew, like the next year, we were like, maybe we should put out feelers here. During the pandemic. There was like a curbside group for pickup options in Monmouth County on Facebook. And I put out a message and I was like, would anybody be interested in buying cinnamon buns? Because like we make really good cinnamon buns. And the response was like astronomical. We couldn't even like keep up with it at that point, even at that point. And like we were still working in like a tiny stand mixer. Yeah. So that's where Mav's Top Buns was born. And so we just like started out, we put like a little paper sign on our car and we were like Mav's, and it was like so janky and gross and weird. His mom like drew it.
It's like red Sharpie. It looks like it's Halloween.
And we started like having just like pickups like from a parking lot, and people would come and just pick up the buns. And then as the word of mouth like started to pick up, we started to have like lines like down the parking lot. And yeah, and people like, there was like a gas station across the street. They would come over and be like, what is going on here? Like, what are you guys selling?
Wow.
And yeah, I mean, it's been a fun ride. It's been a crazy ride. Like we were selling at businesses, like Sickles Market, and we were at Lavodi's, and we were like, it's just, the social media thing is so powerful because all that stuff, like people just saw it, and I was documenting everything, like the journey, like that we took being parents and all that kind of stuff. So it's been crazy.
Yeah, I feel like social media definitely helps in this situation, because when you think about it, right? So you put out on Facebook you want to sell cinnamon buns, and nobody's seen it, right? Like if it wasn't for social media, people would be like, oh, I don't know, I'm going to buy cinnamon buns out of a car in a parking lot. Like, how is this going to be? But because of social media, people are actually able to see your product and your process into it. And you mentioned that you have a cult following. So how did you actually get that following on social media?
Yeah, I think that it's helped being really real and candid about like our journey as like a business, because instead of us just like showing cinnamon buns, which there's a lot of like food porn on Instagram, there's a lot of stuff where you go look and you're like, what is this? But we've kind of made it personal. Like I answer everybody's DMs. Like I have like pages of DMs every single day, and I make sure I answer every single person. So I think that especially like the mom groups, like they follow us because they're at home with their kids or whatever. And they're like, yeah, solidarity. Like I see how hard you're working. I see it, and I want to support you. And so that's been like our real core following, like the moms who buy the cinnamon buns for the families and the kids. Like, and it's really heartwarming to see. Like I absolutely love those mamas who follow us.
It's connection and hustle. Those are the two easiest ways to say it. Nikki connects with a ton of different people, and she works her butt off, and she's incredibly talented at both of those things.
Oh, I love that.
It helps at the product too. Like Mike is like, it's funny because we say like I'm usually like the leadership role and Mike is like the executor. Like he's really the master behind like the perfect like roll. Like he rolls those buns and he is a master at it. And like, I obviously you don't have one without the other. If he has a product and he doesn't have someone to market it, then it's like doesn't work, and vice versa. So.
Yeah. It definitely takes two, for sure. And I love that you guys balance each other out. And I think it obviously helps that you two are married because you guys just have that that cadence with each other, you know, and you can really sense that. Even I was going to say on social media, I had seen a video of you guys just like dancing around with your kids, and it's the reality of entrepreneurship. I think that on social media today, there's so many accounts that are just like, this is what it's like being an entrepreneur, and it's glamorous and it's picture perfect. And that is so not the case, right? Like there's a lot that goes into it, and your social media just screams authenticity. And I think that's, you know, to your point, the connection, like that's what creates the connection, is just being really authentic and genuine, and people can relate to that because people's lives are pretty much the same way, of goofing around, wanting to have a good time, and just dealing with the obstacles that life throws at you.
Definitely.
It's funny because you see all these like food pages and they'll have hundreds and hundreds of thousands of followers, and they'll get like 100 likes, 100, like 50 comments on a post. And we routinely have thousands and thousands of likes with hundreds of comments every single post. And it's because of that connection. The engagement is incredibly high. It's incredible to see it grow like that.
Yeah.
I think people also, they gravitate towards seeing, like, especially in the social media era, like that one thing that you focus on, because it has to be good. Like, if you focus on cinnamon buns, or you focus on cookies, or you're like only a brownie bakery, people are like, what? This must be the best brownie I've ever had. This must be the best cinnamon bun I've ever had, because like, this is all we do. Like, you know, Mike always says the quote by Bruce Lee. It's like, what is it? What's the quote?
It's like, God, put me on the spot. The quote's, I fear not the man who's learned 10,000 punches. Fear the man who's learned one punch 10,000 times.
Oh,
So
I love that.
It's the specialist role. Like there's lots of bakeries that do hundreds of different things, and I'm sure they're all good, but they're never going to be better at that one thing than the specialist, which is why you see individual companies like ours sort of blowing up a little bit, because while someone could do a million different things, they're probably not individually as crave-worthy as the ridiculously over-the-top specialists that I consider us to be.
Yeah, for sure. And even at those bakeries, right, like the ones that sell a lot, typically you're like, oh, I go there for this one specific item.
This thing, right? The one thing that they make or whatever. Look, we are in fully support. Like, we support local. We always, like, you know, I'm always going to different bakeries and saying like, this is amazing. Like, these are the best bakery. And like, they are, like, that's like our biggest thing is like, we never want to knock anyone down. We always want to like build them up, like, especially during the pandemic. But it's funny, like, we've made kind of like a niche for ourselves in the market. Like, we've kind of been like, all right, we're not a storefront. We're never going to be a storefront at this point. Like, we don't want someone to be able to walk in and get a cinnamon bun. We want to create that demand. We want to say, okay, this time at 8 a.m. or at 12 p.m., you're going to come here and we're going to have cinnamon buns. And if you don't show up, then you're not going to get them and you're going to lose out. And so that's like the marketing aspect, right?
Yeah.
People are like, oh my God, like, I have to get up and I have to get my kid from Virginia and I have to drive. Like, we have someone from Virginia driving to see us on Saturday, selling out of a U-Haul in a parking lot.
We routinely have comments on Instagram like, "Hi from Nigeria, do you ship?"
like from the most crazy places like that you could ever imagine, like
Uganda here.
Right, exactly. We've actually had someone. When are you going to ship? And like, we're not ready for that right now. Obviously, we have a young family. Like, it's not something that's in the cards for us at the moment. But like, to know that could be there is pretty crazy.
You created that like FOMO mentality, right? Where it's like, wow, so many people are getting these cinnamon buns and they're only here at a certain time. And if I don't get it, I'm totally missing out. And I feel like I love that idea around marketing, because consumers want to be like those around them, right? So it's like, oh, if my neighbor is going and getting cinnamon buns that are amazing, I want to get them too, right? So you're kind of joining into that. And for you guys being in that niche category, I saw that you have a 72-hour baking process. Is that right?
Yeah.
It takes a while.
It takes, and that is one of the reasons why it was so hard for us when we like ramped up, because we were essentially working 7 days a week. And like, we did it all when the kids were either napping or sleeping. So it was like, we would put the kids down and we'd be like, okay, time to get up. time to like do our thing. And like we were getting to the point where like Mike worked he got Lyme disease over the summer. He had like a 30-day antibiotic thing, and we had like orders going out like Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, like every day. And it was like he was working through all of that. His back was hurting because he was loading the truck and doing all this stuff. And it was like completely insane, but we were doing it. I was exhausted. We were like running on fumes. But we went through it all summer. Like we sold ridiculous amounts, like 80, maybe 85 trays like in a weekend, which was like how many buns is that?
So a tray is 8 buns per tray.
A tray is 8 buns. So we would sell like, 700 buns in a weekend.
Oh my gosh.
And
between us two. And like we have a couple people who help us, but like that was it.
we routinely have like all these people constantly reaching out to Nikki, and she's constantly answering, and there's these huge expectations. And every like week I look at Nikki, I'm like, do these people realize it's just me and you, right? This is just
us. Like
I was going to say, so because it's such a long process and you make so many, like, are you just surrounded by cinnamon buns all week?
We've, in order to adapt, we've consolidated our selling days.
Yeah.
So there was a stretch there where we were working at some part of the business every day while I have a full-time job.
And
while
he still
Nikki has
works
2
9 to 5,
kids.
right.
So that got too much for us. So we had to consolidate our days. We ended up selling on 2 different days. So we'd get like 2 days, a day or 2 off. The holidays are coming up, so we're starting to try to enjoy our holiday too a little bit.
Yeah.
So now we're only selling on 1 day for right now, but it was crazy there for a little while.
And that's the beauty of what we do is like we don't have any overhead because we don't have a storefront. So it's like we're literally able to say, okay, like we want to like
not sell.
We want to not sell for a week, or we want to take a break, or we want to like ramp up, and we basically can decide like. Our followers, what happened was when we started, I got pregnant after like 5 months, and it was starting to ramp up in like, what was it? 2020.
Mm-hmm.
It started to ramp up, and then
August.
I got pregnant and I couldn't smell this. I couldn't stand the smell of cinnamon buns. I literally, and it was like so many pregnant women come to me and they're like, I need these buns. Like I'm going to kill my husband if I don't get these buns. So like, it's so funny that like I ironically couldn't smell them.
Uh-huh.
We had orders. So the way our business works is we take orders like weeks out. So Nikki's body decided it couldn't stand the smell of cinnamon buns, and we had about a month's worth of orders.
I still had to keep going. So we still had to go through all that. But then I was like, okay, I'm like very sick from this. I'm like pregnant. Like, let's take a break. We took an entire a year off essentially because like when Marley was born, my daughter Marley. And then I was working. Then at 3 months, I was like, let's start it up again. Like we don't sleep. We already have chaos. Like let's add some more chaos. So we started it again. And she was like, I was making icing and she was sleeping on me. And I'm like, and she like hears the whir of the machine and she like goes to sleep. Like they're used to this, like it's just so funny. So they've really been incorporated into like, our life with these buns. And it's just, it's a crazy thing. But this year was really the year where it blew up.
Wow. Yeah. That's crazy. And I almost feel like that time off actually helped you because people were waiting for it. Like I can imagine like when
Which is weird. They waited a year. They literally waited a year. And people are like, what? You're back? Holy crap. And like, it just like, we couldn't keep up with the order forms. The other day with the holiday flavors, I said to people, because we were originally going to do a pop-up and I felt like a little nervous about it with COVID, like with Marley and everything. So I was like, all right, we're just going to take orders. I'm going to open up the order form and we'll take some orders, which is like the same amount that I was going to make anyway, that we were going to make for the trays. I opened the order form and Mike came running and he goes, turn off the form, turn off the form. We had literally like hundreds of orders in 20 minutes. Like it gave me like the chills from like the top of my head. Like I was like, okay, we need to turn this off because we can't fill all of these. Like we would have to, whatever. So we ended up being able to fill all of them. We're going to be filling all of them. But it was crazy. It's crazy the amount.
From day one, we've never been able to meet demand.
Yeah.
The demand has been so overwhelming from 2020 when we first started on Facebook, when we were only doing like 12 trays a day. And we were like, we can barely do this right now. And we've ramped up, and we still, to this day, we turn down customers every single week. And we reschedule them out, sometimes months in advance.
Yeah.
Sometimes legit months out. And it's exciting to see. And it's also terrifying that it's just this wave every single time we try to take orders that just come in. It's crazy.
I think it's so cool. It's so unbelievably cool that you guys have this product that people will literally wait a year for. And then within 20 minutes, it's like, bam, we've been waiting for this. Here's all of your orders. This podcast is sponsored by Hatteras, a leader in print-based communications, with services ranging from high-impact direct mail and packaging to retail graphics and environmental branding. Hatteras helps global brands engage with their target audience through the power of print. Reach out to them at hatteras.us for help with your next print project. Now, with the holiday flavors, how did you come up with the Ferrero Rocher and the I love cookie butter. Oh my gosh.
Yes.
I think the Ferrero was all you. I think cookie butter might have been suggested by me. I can't remember, but the Ferrero was 100% your design from start to finish.
I think because it's one of those flavors that you see like when you start watching TV during the holidays and you see like the gold like wrapping and you're like, that's holiday to me. And we've experimented with the Nutella bun at one point and we knew it worked. I'm a huge fan of chocolate. Like I'm the biggest chocolate fiend. So like I love the idea of putting the Nutella in and like we had the little candy on top. And I feel like that made it like elevated a little bit for the holidays, a little bit special, right? Yeah. So that's where that came up. And then the cookie butter, it's like a lot of people were, I always ask my followers, like, what do you guys want? Like for the holidays, what are you thinking? Like what kind of flavors? A lot of people wrote like gingerbread or something like that. And like cookie butter is like borderline gingerbread. Like there's a little bit of like flavors like that in there. So I was like, why don't we just do that? Like we always focus on like the craveability. Like I'm never going to make anything too fancy and non-approachable. The whole point is that you're looking at this and you're like, oh, I need that. Like it has to be like a craveable thing. You know what I mean? So,
and we had other flavors that we wanted to do for the holidays. We teased an eggnog flavor that we posted out. And part of that connection is our followers voted on what they wanted. And the eggnog did good, but it didn't do as good as cookie butter and Ferrero. So because of so that one fell off, but that was a really good one as well.
I think that's so important for entrepreneurs to realize too, that I feel like some businesses, they try to push a product that they think that their audience wants. And a big part of the reason why you have such a big demand is because you're literally listening to what your audience wants and incorporating it into your product. And I think that that's so special. What is something that you wish you knew before you started?
I mean, so Mike and I, well, he always yells at me because I always go into something with my head first and I don't even like think about it. And that's why we balance each other very well, because he is the thinker and I'm the doer. Like I'm like, okay, we need to go and then we don't have to think about it. Like when we did our food festival, the food festival Smorgasburg, which was like a huge opening for like our following because it is one of the biggest food festivals in the country. And we had to like try out essentially to get in, which was like, we didn't even know what that was going to entail. We brought our box and we like put it down. We had 1,000 followers at the time. Now we have like, we were not 10,500.
We were not upscaled at that time.
We were not upscaled. We didn't have like a big mixer. We didn't have a commercial, anything. And we were like, okay, here's our box of buns. And like, we didn't even give them like utensils or anything. They were like, okay, I'm just going to like.
I remember this. Oh my goodness. There are other people that like, it's a tasting. So like someone's going in tasting before you, someone comes in after you, and there's people wheeling in like their entire containers. Like they're going to set up a show for these people. And we literally show up and we're like,
here's your box of buns.
We don't even give you silverware. Enjoy.
You just eat it, whatever. So he like tried it and like, they don't tell you then and there, like if it's good. So we're just like, we left and we're like, I guess, we'll see what happens. And we got a call like later and we were like, they were like, you're in Smorgasburg, which was like a huge thing. Our first.
They accept like 1% of total everyone that they.
Yeah, they don't accept a lot of people. So, but anyway, we had a huge disaster the night before. It was the first time we used our commercial mixer because we had to get all this stuff like done and we got these giant things and there was like motor oil in the icing and we had like 100 batches of icing in that mixer and we were like, oh my God, what are we going to do? We were like, we're not going to go. We can't do it. We got to cancel it. We made hundreds of buns and everything. And we were like, without icing, we can't, we don't have anything else.
800 buns.
So then the next day we talked to his sister and she was like, you guys have to go. Like, this is a huge thing. You like, literally, this is a huge following. Like you need to go.
Day of the event.
And so she was like, make icing on the fly. So we were like, okay, we're going to make icing on the fly. I got all the ingredients. We went to Smorgasburg. I like literally had my little stand mixer. We plugged into our generator, and in 90-degree heat, I was making icing, and it was melting. It was like literally a disaster. But the point is that we didn't give up after that, because it was a total like craziness. And we could have been like, this isn't for us. Like, we're packing it in. But we were like, no, we're going to learn how to work this mixer. We're going to learn how to like, you know, do these events. And, you know, they're a learning process. It's always a learning process. And it's just like, I wish that I knew to think a little bit more about the process of things, but I also like the idea of just figuring it out as we go. And people are still supportive, even after like certain events that like maybe don't go as fast, like maybe the line is 3 hours long. They're still waiting, and they're like, the product was worth it. So like, yes, we could work on some business aspects of it, but like at the end of the day, if you have a product that you stand behind, like that's the key, you know? So
I would say for me, stop fighting. So like, I've always been the go slow person, even from the get-go. Like, it took Nikki's parents and everyone who tried our buns, it took months to convince us to even sell. And then once Nikki gets the idea to sell, she's all in. I'm like, maybe we'll do some farmers markets. Let's start slow. And she literally took orders, and we're like, oh my God, we have like 20 orders to do like in next week. And literally it was like, oh my God, how are we going to do this? And it's always, Nikki's been the driving force for the growth of this business. And I've been fighting the whole time because I don't know if we can do it, because that's who I am as a person. I would say stop fighting and let it figure itself out.
Yeah. I feel like everybody has those limiting beliefs. And I think like between the both of you, right? Like being able to push past your limiting belief of like, can we actually do this? And then also pushing past those uncomfortable moments where everything is going wrong and you want to give up and you didn't. And I think a lot of people fail to do that, unfortunately, right? And it's something that if you just push past a little bit more, you would learn so much. Dr. Joe is an expert with the leading residential solar company in the country. His passion to help others, combined with the goal of having the world run on the sun, can change how our planet is powered forever. It costs you nothing and can either totally eliminate your electric bill or at least cut it down significantly. It's free money. Go to www.drjoeknowsolar.com to see if you qualify for solar and help make the world a better place. Now, talk to me about being a parent and juggling making 800 buns in a week. Do you have a parent hack as an entrepreneur?
I mean, I think the best thing I can say is to just try to be efficient as possible, which I think that our kids kind of pushed us to be able to do this in a way, because we had to do this quickly. We didn't have time to think. We had to just do. If we're going to do it, we got to do it. And like, if you want to make it work, you can make it work with kids. Yes, like there are a lot of times where parents, I think of like, you know, who are entrepreneurs and have kids, they're like teetering on the brink of like, I quit, like I'm done. Like I'm putting too much stress on my family. I want to just like do, you know, something else or whatever. But like there is that innate like drive within all of us, I think, to have that like individual, you know, passion. And I think it's fun that like, you know, our kids get to see us doing some fun stuff. And like, I talked to Mike about it. Like one day when they have their kids, they're gonna be like, did you know I used to sit in a U-Haul? Like my parents had me in a U-Haul and we were sitting there and like selling cinnamon buns. And he says to everyone, he goes, have a good day. Thank you very much.
He says, hi, customer. Nice to meet you.
Gosh, that is so cute.
Yeah. So I think that people, you know, kids are more adaptable than you give them credit for, than even I've given my kids credit for. And, you know, I think that if you want it badly enough, you know, like your kids will respect that and they'll see like, you know, it's a beautiful thing that my parents have such passion and such drive for what they're, I mean, there's times that he's been screaming. It's not every, you know, it's not all fun and games. Like he has been losing his mind at some aspects. And I have to literally go in the other room and be like, because it's been like so much pressure. I mean, just the other day, you were like, I need 6 batches of icing right now. And I'm like, well, I'm making the kids breakfast and I can't do this right now. Like I have, and Maverick's screaming at me, I want to help. And like, I'm literally like trying to make this quickly because we have customers going out and like the pressure of this, people coming hours away to like try our buns. And then it's not perfect. It has to be perfect. Mm-hmm. So
Parents need to use their time wisely.
Use the time wisely.
It's basically you do your best to fill in the gaps. If there's a nap time, what can you get done within that time? What can you get done at night? Do you have more? What can you do? What's the easiest part to do when the kids are awake? So you just sort of slowly add additional steps into your daily life until it sort of hits a balancing point. It's going to take weeks to get there to figure out what worked and what didn't work, what actually takes a certain amount of time. But if you keep pushing through, you'll find a little bit of a balance and your family will adapt.
I feel like parents are just really good time hackers. That's what I keep hearing.
It's a necessity.
I love that. I think that it's something really special that your kids are able to have those stories and be a part of something that means so much to you. And I bet they're learning a lot too about hustle and drive and doing what they love no matter what. As we're wrapping up here, what does the future of Mavs Top Buns look like?
Good question.
Who knows?
Right now we are enjoying the idea of like releasing the order form, at whatever point that we see like, all right, we're ready to go again. We're ready to have another pop-up. We're ready to, do something like that. I'm enjoying like truly working for ourselves and being able to like, we were in a lot of businesses at one point, and I enjoyed that. And I'm not counting that out for the future. But it was a lot to deal with every single person associated with that business, because it didn't feel like working for us. It didn't feel like what we wanted to do. It didn't feel like, we plan a lot around our kids' schedules and say, all right, 10 a.m., this is the drop off, because that's the time that works for us. And that's the time that works for our kids and our family. And those businesses wanted them early, understandably. So it was like very much like a balancing act. But I think that the future, hopefully we're going to just keep growing and continue to do these pop-ups. And maybe one day we will have like a wholesale store where we're like shipping out of the store. I'm not saying that people can come in and walk in and buy a cinnamon bun, because that's never going to be what we want to do. But maybe it's a shipping thing, because that's something that I think we're interested in, and trying to reach like as many people across the world as possible.
Definitely. I think you already have a following across the world, and they're ready for you to start shipping your cinnamon buns. So when you're ready, let me know too, and I'll spread the word.
Will do.
Now, where can people find you? This is where you plug yourself. So your website, your social media.
Yep. So it's mavstopbuns.com, and then Mavs Top Buns, MAVS Top Buns. That's the Instagram handle. And we have the same thing on Facebook. It's Mavs Top Buns on Facebook. Another thing is that one thing I just want to say quickly, a lot of people call it Maeve's Top Buns. They think it's me, like my top buns, like I'm Maeve. It's not Maeve, it's Mav.
MAV just should not translate to Maeve.
It's Maverick. So it's based on our son, Maverick, Mav's Top Buns. So
Mav's Top Buns. Love it. Love it so much. Thank you both for taking the time to chat with us this morning.
Thank you.
It has been such a good conversation, and I'm really excited to watch you guys grow over the next few years.
We thank you so much. We appreciate all the support.